Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek, bringing to you another most excellent episode of the Tomo Bros Podcast. Today with me is Masters Ditaku and Clockwork.
I was patched out of the game on a day one patch that was 75 Yoda bytes.
I was patched into the game that was 2 megabytes. Haha.
Wait a second. You overwrote me?
Yes. Yes, but paradoxically, it made the game bigger as a result.
Much bigger.
Why? No one knows. Draw your own conclusions. But yes, we are back.
You know, with the way that game optimization is now, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Pretty soon you're going to need an entire terabyte SSD to play certain video games. It is ridiculous. But we need to bring compression back of some sort. I know some people are like, but it reduces the quality. No, I don't need an entire hard drive or solid state drive to run a video game. That is ridiculous.
You know what it is. People need to actually remember that, art direction is a thing because, everyone wants to be photorealistic, and I'm sorry, it's like you don't need to, know, yes, we've been able to model, Master Chief's nose hair. It's like, do you really have to, though?
Wait, the unmasked Master Chief what? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, to say nothing of the fact that it wouldn't even be compression. It would just be a simple matter of optimizing your damn game. Now, let me tell you guys, the legend of Snek decided to look at the behind-the-scenes information for one little, you might have heard of it, this little indie game that won't die, known as Garden of Banban. And the stuff that wasn't just asset flipped is horribly not optimized. Like, the original characters, these weird blob, if you haven't seen them, all the characters in this game are like these monochromatic blob creatures with faces pasted onto them. And they didn't optimize the polys at all. They're like 10 trillion triangles each. It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life.
10 trillion triangles for the Banban monsters? Are you kidding me?
It's not literally 10 trillion, but an absurdly high number that should not be necessary to render those monstrosities. Their poly count is way too high.
I would have thought that they would have been like N64 or,
No, actually, low-end computers tend to chug loading Banban titles because of the poor optimization. In Chapter 3 or 4, I forget, it's so bad that as you're taking the lift that takes you between the sectors, it takes a moment for the map to pop in, and you can see through the walls to the other side of the stage. It's really bad.
So what you're saying is they need Mega Man shutters.
Yeah, basically.
Lol, Lamau.
I actually didn't know that piece of tidbit. They used the Mega Man shutters because the boss fight or the room was too big or something? Or the map was too big?
Well, you have to understand that the original Mega Man was for the disk drive.
Yeah.
And so they thought that they needed the shutters in order to allow the game to load in the boss information.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it didn't matter, but it was such an iconic thing because basically it allows you a heartbeat, just pause right before that they just kept it, and it just was a thing.
That impending boss room kind of feel. Okay,
exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it really is a matter of necessity is the mother of invention, because they took something that was initially a limitation and turned it into an iconic feature of the franchise.
Really cool. All right, I'm going to do another thing.
Right.
This is going to be my other thing.
Okay.
The entire reason why he's blue to begin with is because of the fact that the Famicom actually had more blue hues than any other color, and they wanted him to be striking. And bam, before the professor said it, I said it.
You thought it would be Snek, but it was me, Titaku.
The whole time.
The whole time.
It's actually the hipster Ditaku. I was the one who did it. Snek is actually my sidekick.
And funny enough, this all kind of leads into everything that we planned on talking about today. Because Master Clockwork, you broached the topic. Why don't you kick off the conversation?
So there's been a big whole thing going on right now about emulation and video game preservation or preservation of information as a whole. You might have heard around the interwebs. There's been a lot of companies, Nintendo, Sony, Lego. I think it's the ESA, some electronic organization that I think sponsors certain games and everything, have been going around and requiring certain websites to delete ROMs and archival websites of games, so that way people can't download them and play them anymore. And I would understand certain games and of certain time frames, but they're going wholeheartedly for everything even back in like the 1990s and 2000s. I think
1990s. Nobody was alive then.
I mean, you could go in certain websites to see that, like, the original Legend of Zelda is not there anymore. Mario for Nintendo side. I think the Final Fantasies is although you can readily easily get a lot more of the Final Fantasies now in the pixel remasters and everything. So I could see certain ways of how they monetize it and how they want to bring the newer versions to light. I can understand. But like, I don't have a current version of Judge Dredd for the SNES I can play. Why would you want to get rid of that? That's actually a pretty decent game for what it was. I'm not going to lie. I had a decent amount of fun with it.
Fair.
I know Professor Snek here played a lot of games. He probably wouldn't be able to get without emulation because of the different differences in borders and stuff like that between certain Japanese games and everything, and translation and stuff like that as well. So
yep, that's how we were able to do Horai High, because that game never got an official release, and the companies that made it, I don't think exist anymore. So like, what would you do in those situations? You're just SOL then.
And I could understand if like they wanted to do certain kind of thing, like they say, hey, you can't have this game, we can't have this game, released. Like, what's the word? I'm forgetting a word, unfortunately. It's where like something kind of falls off and there's the copyright's not like there anymore.
Oh, abandonware.
Word for it. Yeah, pretty much abandonware there in a sense. And I'm not talking about like the franchise itself, because Final Fantasy, or that, I don't know what the word that was, Final Fantasy and games like that are never I don't think will ever truly fall out of style. But the older versions of the originals, I don't ever see them coming back, especially with the pixel remasters. And for people who still like the originals and everything, I feel it's disingenuous to want those to just vanish from ever existing anymore. Am I wrong for saying that?
I'm just disappointed that we never got a Dawn of Souls 2. That would have been fantastic. Dawn of Souls itself was just fantastic.
It was. Like we did get the 3 and 4 remakes on the DS, but I'm going to stand by it. The reason that the Final Fantasy IV DS game annoys me so much is the voice actors insist on pronouncing the character names like their Japanese voice actors did. His name is not Kain. It's Cain. His final weapon is Abel's lance. He's a traitor, so he's Cain. That's his naming convention. But they call him Kain because that's how his Japanese voice actor said it. So it's wrong. Don't at me.
Don't at him.
Never mind, Never mind the entire, oh, I'm Cecil. Kip, kip, cheerio.
It's like very British.
Like, wow.
It's like, it's supposed to be Cecil, but you know what? Fine. I mean, that's at least a legit English pronunciation of the name. Still better than Tidus or Aerith. Earth.
Cheerio. Earth.
Earth. Sorry, we just play him. We don't name them.
And I do approve of certain Capcom when it comes to some of their fighting games. They release collections for a lot of their fighting games that people can still play. Although some people will say that the emulation programming that they use is either derivative of other of works that people have out there for free, or it is not, or it's like something they've created in house but didn't put a lot of thought into it, so it's not amazing. I am glad that at least some of these companies are like, hey, we understand that, the fighting game community goes back way, way back. Fighting games in general go way, way back. We want to make sure that people can still enjoy them, and although I don't know who else is out there to destroy Street Fighter 1, that game is pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
But original Guilty Gear, I know a lot of friends. I know a lot of some friends that still play the original Melty Blood and stuff like that too. So, there's a lot of other games out there that Virtua Fighter's still a thing. I know there was a recent game out there, but a lot of people still play the older Virtua Fighters and everything like that.
Right.
And then we have Mark of the Wolves, and now we have all of the newer ones. Then they have a newer one finally coming out. I guess they heard the cries of 1,000 people of ancient people wanting a sequel to that. Apparently, although it does look pretty good, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, no, that is kind of a thing. Like everyone, one of the debates I hate seeing the most online is that, guys, when was the golden age of gaming? Now, right now, you live in it right now. Like you have all the old stuff that's come before. You have all the new stuff that's coming, and I don't care that you were 7 years old and didn't have any real responsibilities. Your nostalgia is not my concern. That you have everything from the past, everything happening now, and a massive, massive boom in the indie scene. Like, what more could a gamer want? You already have it all. This is the golden era. Bask in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't understand. Mother Mario 3, it happened, and there was the wizard, and don't you know they had the Mario cereal and Captain N. Everything was so much better in 1991.
Yes, because you were 7 years old and you didn't have responsibilities and you didn't have to pay taxes. That's the real underlying rose-tinted glasses that these people are looking through.
Oh dear!
Like
this is gonna go into a very
No, it's true. It's true. You know what? If
no. I'm not saying that. I was
right?
just like, oh dear, here we go. It's gonna be, Ron Paul.
No,
and that's why Ron Paul should have won.
This is why Jesus. Ron Paul will make anime real. But here's the thing: if you want to play Super Mario Brothers 3, you can. It's there. You can already play it. It's a good game. I think World was better, but those are good games that exist. You can play them right now. You don't have to wait for an instant. You can just play them right now. If you want to play Mario Galaxy, that was a great game. You can play Mario Galaxy. If you want to play, I don't know, something more obscure, you want to play Shinobi on your Sega Game Gear, you can. You already can. It's already there. You don't need to go back in time and be 7 years old and eat sugar cereal that's mostly soybean oil. You already have that. You have everything.
You're saying I, a 37-year-old, doomer boomer, can eat Count Chocula and play Mario 3 now?
You absolutely can. You know what? The only thing you cannot do from your childhood, if you want to order from Pizza Hut, you can order from Pizza Hut. You want to play Super Mario Brothers 3? You can play Super Mario Brothers 3. The only thing you can't do is go to Blockbuster and rent a VHS. That's it. That's all you've lost.
Unless you go to Oregon, which I think is still one out there somewhere.
That's the last one. Yes.
There are technically 3 of them still, but yes.
Yes.
And one of them is literally in Alaska, where it's like like one of those like David Lynch murder mysteries where there's 37 people,
and they all know each other on a first name basis. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and then I was going to say, and then to Snek's point as well, is the fact that is that it doesn't take much. I'm going to before we were recording this, there was a bit of a rant. He was going, well, I'm going to see if I can get him to go back on it again.
Oh,
is that it doesn't take much to preserve a lot of these games.
Exactly.
A lot of these games can be put, as he said, on a floppy disk because they're not that big.
It's already digital. There's no analog to digital conversion. It's not like video games were from the analog era. They weren't. So instead, you got stuff that's already digitized, stuff that's already in a file format. You could fit the entire NES and Super NES on a zip disk. All of them, without exception. And people have all these tools now for ROM hacks and fan games, and it's been a renaissance for up-and-coming indie game developers. Toby Fox made the soundtrack of Undertale on pirated software. Like, you have the tools. You already have everything, and as obviously as technology goes on, you get software bloat. So like the file sizes get bigger. But even as recent as like the PS3, games were still not in excess of the 100 gigabyte range. That's a modern era problem. Now, how will they tackle that problem? I'm not sure. That's a good question, but it's still a modern one.
I'm still in awe of just the fact that you're like, you know what? In order to, tackle the problem of not having old thing, here's a slightly less old extinct technology. Like, wow.
Zip disks, man. They were the future. No,
yeah. So little
kidding.
Jimmy is there. Little Jimmy's there being like, what's a zip disk? And she's just like,
I have not heard that name in a long, long time.
Why don't you sit down? I'm going to have to explain how old computers work to you.
You want to know an even funnier thing? Their iOmega was looking at making a zip disk drive specifically for the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh my!
It didn't happen. It didn't get finalized, but they were working on it.
That would have actually been a really elegant solution to a lot of the problems, yeah.
It would have, yeah. That actually would have been really cool to see come to fruition, but the Dreamcast was honestly just an exercise in too little, too late. But, like, there's no reason to that archiving older games should be anything of a problem. And the thing is, the vast majority of them aren't being supported by their parent companies anyway. So, like all these people get butt mad, like, hey, you're stealing from game devs. Like, who am I stealing from when I share the copy of Horai High? No one, because no one would make money for it on a regardless basis. So, is it theft? No, because no one's actually losing anything. In fact, there's a net gain acquired in the process.
There's also an argument to be made that I personally don't know how to do it, but there's people online that have seen how to do it, is that there are ways you can take the disc of a game, rip the ROM out of it, and then if you have a current emulator and play it. A lot of people will say, it is my game, I have the disc, this is what I'm going to do with it, so I can play it either on my PC or do whatever you want
or have a backup
with it as well. And to also to your fact that you're talking about ROM hacks and everything like that, there's been another kind of a surge where people have been learning better ways of there's been what's the word I'm looking for? There's been an upgrade in emulation that some people have been testing out that just, it seems like it runs better. Like it supports more native resolutions without stretching the game out as much, and it makes certain games just fit better on bigger screens,
right?
Without ruining the experience and everything like that. From what I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of it. It's still in development and everything, but it looks really cool. And I was like, that'd be really cool to be able to play certain older games on bigger screens. Although I don't know how well that'll work in the long run, since certain games,
right.
They're only meant for the small CRTs in certain situations
because some of the times the graphic design was built around the technology of the time. Like light gun games work notoriously badly on modern flat screen TVs. There's ways to fix that, but they were built for the technology of the time, so that makes sense.
Yeah. The other argument I see a lot is that why don't you just buy the game? Well, I would like for someone to go and look up not right now, but Silent Hill 2 or something like that, and try to find a copy that isn't $300 or something.
Okay, where can I buy a copy? Where can I buy a copy of Horai High? You guys show me that, and I'll oblige.
And then I gotta find a working.
So what you gotta do is have to go to Japan
and find an antique store.
And then you have to find the console that works. You have to hopefully the parts work. You have to hopefully the controllers work. You have to hopefully that you can find a TV or has.
I was find a CRT TV with a white, yellow, red connection. Yeah.
That whole thing with owning the game and playing it. I mean, I have my old NES and stuff like that. I still have a lot of that stuff, but it's just like pulling it out and trying to get it to work and stuff like. When I literally can just play it on my PC with the current available stuff that's out there. There's no real comparison to it.
Yeah.
Other than pure nostalgia if you want to go that direction.
I mean, sure, you know what? I get it. There is a certain appeal to pouring a bowl of Captain Crunch and sitting on the floor in front of your old boxy wood grain TV and, black and white I Love Lucy land. But
Captain Crunch is all about Cocoa Puffs. What are you talking about?
I'm a Reese's Puffs guy, if we're being honest. That said,
I'm a Golden Grams man. Or little gremlin.
You know what? That's okay. Golden Grams are pretty okay. We'll do an episode on breakfast cereal one of these days. That'd be something. I get the nostalgia argument. Like, I disagree with it on its face, but I understand where it's coming from, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think you're a bad person for making that invocation, but I do think that there is some inherent danger to it. I think people who become overly fixated on childhood nostalgia are really just not seeing the forest for the trees. Because those games are there.
Don't worry.
Oh?
It's okay. Don't worry. You might not think they're bad people, but I will.
You will judge them for me. I appreciate that.
Because you'll end up like me, who bought Diablo 4 and played like half of it and realized that the rose-tinted glasses started to kind of break away and go, oh, this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
And then he was just
even though Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, all that was like, but it's supposed to be good. It was supposed to be the game, the series you love. What happened?
Diablo 1 and 2 were good games. Just everything
awesome
after
games.
that.
I love them.
I
played so many hours of them. That's the problem.
Yeah. Dude, I
that's
get
that's my secret, Clockwork. When you think everything is awful, nothing will ever surprise you.
Oh no.
Ditaku's Law. Everything is garbage, 100% of the time. You're either correct or pleasantly surprised.
Except for,
expectations have none.
That's the
seriously
proven way.
Have no expectations. Also, on top of that, never pre-order. That way, you're always pleasantly surprised. That is the Ditaku way.
I get that. I respect that.
I still remember on the physical disc media, just to point out as well that I understand collections. I understand collectors. You like having nice things that you can kind of point back to. I have a family member who's into Magic cards and Pokemon cards, stuff like that, and does a lot of the trading and the stuff like that.
Right.
I don't, in my heart, believe that a copy of Final Fantasy VII that has a typo in the instruction in the back panel increases the value of that entire disc thing by over $1,000. I'm sorry. I saw that at a hole in the wall store in California, and I'm like, I applaud your thinking that I think it's worth that much. I don't believe it is, though. I don't think you're ever going to sell that for $2,000.
No,
I'm sorry.
Almost certainly not. And
don't worry. Some sad nerd is going to be like, $2,000. It's all right. I mean, I have 2 kidneys, right? So I mean.
There is some kidneys by a lot there, buddy.
Technically.
I mean, oh no. Snek's going to be like, well, if you think about it, if any price agreed upon is technically market value.
I mean,
oh geez,
technically true. That said, but that actually raises a really interesting point. The resale market for games is garbage. Because they can literally make anything, and guess what? The devs aren't getting any money off that either. It's like, so why is this permissible? Why is it permissible that a copy of Monster Rancher 4 runs between $300 and $700 depending on eBay listing for a game that's not being supported, for hardware that's not being supported? Like, why is that acceptable but emulation isn't? Where's the drawing line? Like, why is there a divide there? That doesn't make any sense. The devs still are getting screwed, so what's the point?
I mean, one of my favorite games is, from a studio that was bought by another studio, which is Infamous, and then was immediately dissolved. So none of those people are getting money. Ripping Pepperoni Troika. You were too good for this world. Also, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines is fantastic.
Oh no, I have to install it again.
Joke's on you. I already have it installed.
I was about to say, you don't have it installed already? I mean, geez.
I also want to point out that game on its own is broken. I don't believe without using cheats, you can actually finish that game because it has a lot of game-breaking bugs on it, unless you use a patch that was made by the community to fix that stuff.
Yeah.
As it is, if you're just doing it as it is, yes, it's broken. There's a certain door that will not open because it will not register that it's actually a door. The version that's on GOG and Steam is actually the version that was patched later.
Yep.
It still is a buggy mess, but you can actually go through it as you are. The unofficial patch actually does improve a lot of things and also allows you to, like, for instance, use disciplines and dialogue, and it adds a lot of extra content, which is really cool.
Yep.
But if you're, little Jimmy, don't you worry. If you're like, oh, boy, I hear about this Vampire Bloodlines game. That's pretty cool. And don't get discouraged because the version that's on Steam and GOG, you don't have to do anything. You can just play it. But the unofficial patch will make it better.
Yes.
And it's not actually that hard to do. For goodness sake, I was able to do it, and I am literally caveman grug when it comes to computer things. So.
Yep, the vanilla version is completable nowadays. I believe the out-of-the-box version required you to download a patch. But there are a lot of interesting mods, including the Count Chocula clan mod, which is pretty freaking funny. It's goofy. I love that one so much.
I did not see this coming when I started this, and I decided to start this episode. We're going to talk about the Count Chocula Vampire the Masquerade clan.
It all comes back to breakfast cereal.
I mean, I'll say this, okay? I understand collecting too. I as much as I wanted to make fun, I literally have. I mean, have I shown you my collection of second edition Exalted hardcovers?
Yeah, they are quite impressive. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know that Snek saw him. He actually helped me collect some of them. So, I understand it's like these are things that I enjoy having. And I'm like, I will, be the first to say second edition Exalted is jank AF.
Yes.
But I like it. So I collect the books. But I mean, yeah, I too also think that retro video game reselling has gotten ridiculous, and there's honestly, an expected demand for these things that I don't think it really is there.
The entire market could be artificial. There is no denying that possibility. Because again, there's no master numbers. There's no audit on these things. So any kind of used game store could just be like, oh yeah, this game, Pretty Princess Adventure 7 is definitely worth $350.
I want to take that statement and I want to amend it just a little bit. There is a grading system for cards and sealed video games that you can send in with a certain amount of money. I don't know what it is. I know my family member does it for cards. They send it in and then they seal it in a box and they put a letter grade or a number grade on it from 1 to 10. 10 being immaculate perfection, and that is supposed to as well increase the value of said item because it was created and is kept in perfect condition. So that can also artificially increase the value of said number, even though there is no real value it's going off of anyways besides the original purchase price.
And the irony of the situation, do you know how much? But let's for the sake of argument, let's argue that it's a Super Nintendo game for simplicity. It's a sealed 10 out of 10 Super Nintendo game, airtight box, locked on a display shelf. Do you know how much that game is actually worth?
Nothing, because you can't play it.
Nothing. Exactly. Exactly right. If you can't play the game is worthless. Do these people not see the irony of trapping these things in little airtight boxes?
Exactly.
You can't also enjoy it.
it's also the reason why it's funny because people talk about I've heard people talk about as well when they're playing like Magic, that people will have like $300-$400 cards in their deck only to realize that they're called proxies. They're like, they look exactly like the card, but they're not actually the card. They were printed to look like it, so that way they don't actually ruin their real cards. And I'm like, well, then then I'm like, I don't know. It's really funny when you think about it the same way. It's like, you're not supposed to play them, then just collect them.
Then what value does the card have?
The point is to play them.
Yeah, it's like, what value
to play them?
What value is there then? There's none. It actually would make a ROM infinitely more valuable because you can play the game. And here's the thing. I am a huge fan of the indie scene. I do not want to see indie games pirated because it's not fair. Okay? I wouldn't even want to see Garten a Ban pirated. Okay? I want to be fair about this. But here's the thing. If there could be some mutual agreement, and Ross Scott said this in one of his videos, really good video, where he mentioned something similar, where it's like, if pirates had some kind of collective oath where they agree not to pirate a game for like 2 to 3 years, and then, after that deadline, anything goes, I think we'd have a very workable system. The games would be preserved, the archivists like me would be happy, the people who just want to play the game would be happy, and the game devs are guaranteed a period where they don't have to worry about it. And honestly, I think if we could strike that deal, I think it would be a win for everybody.
I'm also a believer of the phrase that if you can't get it by any legal means, then if pirating is the only solution, then pirating is the only solution.
I mean, yeah. No, sometimes that's true, though. That's the beauty of a platform. Ged?
Oh, I was just going to say, your solution would require, first off, people to actually have morals, and secondly, there would have to be a huge deregulation of copyright and trademarks.
No, agreed.
And honestly, I am all for that because, I mean, there is so much litigation now about, especially now that like online with the auto copyright and auto flagging just algorithms that are just freaking crazy now.
Yeah.
Especially, in terms of like YouTube and, oh God, Sony just,
it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing in any regard. The fact that like you can have videos sit for like 5-6 years untouched, in was it a legal use form? I don't remember the word off the top of my head.
Fair use.
Thank you. Fair use form, and then suddenly, you have like 7 DMCA strikes or copyright hits or something for all this stuff that you've had. You're like, wait, what happened? All of a sudden, this all of a sudden became illegal material. It doesn't make any sense.
The worst part about that is, especially in YouTube's enforcement, it's super easy to abuse DMCA. And they can just have random trolls, just like, oh, well, this is copyrighted. And even then, YouTube's copyright system doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason. One of the reasons why it was so frustrating for me to do a Let's Play of Monster Rancher 4 is apparently a lot of the music was contract work. So the copyright is actually either in dispute or very inconsistent, because the same song would get flagged by YouTube for having its copyright for several different groups and companies. And I'm like, what's going on? I actually pinged both YouTube and Tecmakoe, and of course didn't hear a thing because the megacorps don't care. They have no incentive to care. Again, they're not making money on this game. It's not a hot button item. So they don't care. Their support time has already expired. So we're just left holding the leash. It's like when I released the most recent April Fool's episode this past year. I just had to sit on my hands because there was a 10-second near-mute clip of the Star Wars theme song. And they're like, that's copyright. Uncle Disney owns that. And I'm like, no, it's near-muted. It's not a replacement for the original. And we're talking over it. Like, this is fair use by definition. And I still had to wait 30 days because they just opted to pigeonhole it. So, like, I won. But, like, by then, everyone was done watching the video, so I didn't get anything out of it. It's like, Thanks, Disney, for ruining another thing. Thanks.
It's also really funny when you have, like, Game Award shows and everything, and they'll put videos. Like, some of the companies will actually put their own videos up. on their channels, and then some of them will actually get copyright striked.
Yep.
From themselves or from the company that made the music, and everyone's just like, "Wow, that's a really good use of the system right there."
I saw one. There's a cutscene early in Mega Man X Command Mission that back in the day was auto flagged as copyright of IGN. Like, no, that's wrong. And,
That's hilarious
and dumb. I'm astounded. And yeah, no, it does kind of speak to a broader point. The megacorps don't care. They have nothing to lose, so they don't care. And they just want to see someone get punished as an example because they want to punch down. That's the same thing that happened in Chroma Squad. Now, on Chroma Squad's title screen, it didn't used to be there, but now there's this little bit of text saying, oh, based on Saban's Power Rangers, even though it's not. It's like, wow, I didn't know that you could copyright colorful superhero teams, even though you can't. It's literally not possible, but they literally just made an example out of an indie game team because they wanted to punch down. And that way there's nebulous legal precedent for it.
Wow, I didn't realize that he and Saban had made Super Sentai. I thought that was Tecmo, or not Tecmo, Toei and Stan Lee.
Yep.
And Ishinomori.
And Toei actually had the game banned from Japan. So if you want to play Chroma Squad in Japan, you actually have to use a VPN and go around.
That's crazy.
Yep.
And also I wanted to point out, because you point out a good point as well, is some of the games that they get rid of, there is, as we said beforehand, there is no other way of really playing it. Sometimes there is, but sometimes the other way of playing it is terrible. Like, who wants to play Super Mario World 2 and pay $50 for it just to play it on like Switch or something like that, or 40 or whatever the price is?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any valid sense. Why you would have a 30-year-old game marked up to the price of an indie game or higher, or to play it just because you decided to port it, most likely not using your own emulation software.
Yeah, a lot of the times these big companies have been found using freeware emulators. That was a thing. They did a Game Boy Advance re-release of the first Sonic the Hedgehog, and they actually found the base of it was a fan-made emulator, and they actually did such a terrible job porting it to the GBA. It's widely regarded as the worst port of the game.
So not only are you making the game inaccessible price point wise, but you're also just stonewalling people of games that want to play it, and it's an originality as well. If they don't want to play it on the Switch platform or anything like that, they want to play. Well, I'm assuming you're not playing on PC is not the original intended value either, but you could get pretty close to it with the different things that certain emulators can do as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're called emulators. It's literally what they're supposed to do is copy the inner workings of the hardware. And in many cases, it's an opportunity to actually improve upon what was done. Like, Sega Saturn emulation might be more stable than the actual Sega Saturn itself ever was, which is not saying much.
Yeah, it is crazy in itself, yeah.
But that's the thing. Is this really heavy-handed crackdown is going to only antagonize the people who are supposed to be supporting these projects in the first place. If you're going out of your way to strike and strike and strike, you're just making an enemy out of people who are essentially just advertising for you. Now, if it's a situation where they are genuinely using your name and your IP for their own selfish gain, then yeah, by all means, strike away, go with God. But like 99% of the time, that's not what's happening.
I mean, once again, do I have to get a sign and point to it and tap it? It's like deregulation.
Yeah.
Deregulation, business deregulation.
Ron Paul will deregulate and make anime real.
But what about Rand Paul? Is this going to be a situation where Rand Paul does the one-handed Kamehameha and kills regulation? While Ron Paul is just behind him.
Dad, what are you doing? I'm helping you out. You're not dead. I know. Doesn't mean I can't help you.
Could be.
I could be. I'm not.
Kill perfect regulation now, son. Well, okay.
All right. I'd watch that.
7 years later. Son, I've come back. There's now Majin regulation. He's here now. But I killed
Majin
perfect regulation. No, it's an even bigger and stronger regulation.
I would unironically watch Libertarian Ball.
Oh my lord.
I'm sorry, this is beyond my power. Curses, the eternal government can't do it again.
What are the odds? The eternal government really just makes everything worse. Guys,
go ahead.
No, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest takeaways in all this is the broader overlying point to this entire discussion is these guys are megacorps. Nintendo is a company. They're not your friend. They're not trying to be your friend. They are trying to sell you a product and or a service, which, by the way, is perfectly fine. But it's really, really unhealthy to personify these guys as somehow being a friendly entity. They're not. They're a business, and your relationship with them should be a business relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say NES Greg, Nintendo Zapper Larry, Billy Bob, all you people, you 37-year-old boomers. Yeah, pretty much the reason why video game rental is the way it is because Nintendo strong-armed the American government in the early 90s. And that's the reason why Blockbuster was the way it was.
Yep.
And why, because you got to be real. Nintendo, is very much a Japanese company, and they are not Willy Wonka. It is not whimsy. You think they are, but they're not.
Even Willy Wonka was trying to sell a product.
Yeah, they don't care about you. They're not your friend. They're not, and it's very sad that a lot of people think that way.
And I want to also point out that I feel like it's very the way they've been going about just strong, just like, hey, here's a letter that says get rid of this. You do it now, or you get sued for billions of dollars. It's like they can't. They have to do it in such like a Terminator-esque cleanse the planet. Where they can't go to someone and go, hey, we're planning on reviving or making another version of this on this system. Could you please take it down, or not even take it down, just take it down, or just remove the link. Don't remove the game. Don't do that. Remove the link for a certain amount of time or anything or that sort. And so that way we release it that way, we don't have competition. And then when it ends, they can go back doing their thing. And so preservation stays alive. Especially when it comes to a lot of the newer remakes and everything that they've been making and the refinishes and stuff. It doesn't get rid of the fact that there's older versions of the game that are going to be a bit different some people might like better than your remake. And getting rid of it makes absolutely no sense. And if you want them to stop selling it or to showing it off until after 3 years after your remake has been out, and then that I feel that's not going to affect your copyright in regard, since it's been out there for as long as it has anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
At that point, you're only going to find secondhand copies anyway. So what difference does it make for them? I mean, the last 6 Switch games I bought were off eBay. My buying habits are not moving the industry forward.
It's just it's one of those things where it's just like it's like it's the eye of Sauron in a way. It's like it sees it and it's gone. It's dead. It's whatever. It's evaporated. What it could be, they see it and go, hey, we need you to stop this for a bit because we're going to do this. We're doing this or what have you. This is what we want you to do, but you can return to your ways until at this point in time. Okay, cool. I don't, no one gets in trouble. It's called we lose a couple of games for a little bit, but hey, they come back after a while. sounds like a lot better deal than Scorched Earth, personally.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, is that scorched earth approach is ultimately going to hurt them. Gabe Newell actually said something along the lines of, like, the biggest barrier between the consumer and the game is just having access to it, which is why Steam, I don't think it's a perfect solution, but it is a good one. Just here's tons of options. We're just gonna pile them on there, and with the exception of like really weird things happening, they're just gonna be there. And even if you buy a game, like I have FNAF World on Steam, the thing is you can't find the FNAF World store page, not with a search anyway. If you know the game number, you can look it up, but you can't. A regular search won't take you there anymore because the game is technically delisted. But if you already own the game and I buy a new computer, I can get it back because it's already part of my library. So, like, barring something really weird happening, you still have that. Is it perfect? No, because I'm a physical medium guy. I'd rather have the cartridge or the disc or what have you. But if that's the best option I have available to me, I'd rather do that.
A quote from a game that I think you're looking for is the easiest, or at least from what I'm seeing, I think was the easiest way to stop piracy is not putting anti-pirate technology at work. It's by giving people a better service than what piracy has to offer.
Yeah, exactly. That is the quote I was after. Thank you. And yeah, that is the spirit of the argument. Like, if you do a better job, if you make it more convenient for them to not pirate, then they're not going to pirate. It's that simple.
I think that was actually, and the reason he said that is, I believe, I don't have the historical information in front of me, unfortunately. I mean, I think there's like 800 videos that probably talk about it. But I believe when Steam came out and showed what it was, piracy in its entirety slowed down a lot too, because everyone's just like, well, instead of having to worry about getting Trojans and malware and stuff like that, from trolls and everyone on the internet, I could just buy it off Steam. And I'll be right there. And we're good.
Can you count backwards from 10?
Clockwork's not going to get that, Professor.
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's that's a very good point, though.
If the service is safer than getting a Trojan off of some site, it's either better priced or it's more fairly priced than getting upcharged at a game store or something like that, then why not? Well, I've kind of spilled my truth on this. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I've kind of had my rants, and I got to reference zip disks, so I'm feeling pretty good.
I was just kind of thinking to myself about, with libertarian ball and the fact that, you have Elon Musk, being like, Rand Paul, I need your help in order to stop Majin Mario, who's being summoned by the evil wizard, Shigeru Miyamoto. Mamma mia, I'm going to destroy the world! Well, we can't have that, Elon. And that just made me giggle.
Someone out there start doing some fan art. We need to see, libertarian ball Z.
It works weirdly well, doesn't it?
It does, actually, in a strange and interesting way. But yeah, no, that's my 2 cents, certainly.
This has gone to weird places.
And it all revolves around breakfast cereal.
I mean, this sounds like a typical podcast, to be honest. There's always branches of rants and raves that go onto some weird angles and areas.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we were pretty fair. Everyone who's still listening, now that we're nearing the 50-minute mark, go down to the comments. Like, do you guys think we're onto something here? Do you guys think we have the right of it? And if you have a better idea than ours, tell us what it is. We'd be curious to hear it. You're probably wrong, but I mean, we'd love to hear it. I'm kidding. No, leave a comment down below. Leave a comment down below and tell us what you guys think. Like, you guys think we have a pretty solid idea here, a good foundation? Because this problem can be fixed. This problem is a problem that can be corrected.
I believe so as well, and I believe that scorching the earth and getting rid of a lot of the ROM sites and everything like that is not the answer, and binding the people who made it into internal debt servitude is not the answer.
Yeah.
As well as on a side note, if you enjoy hearing me talk and want to see me play some video games, you can catch me at twitch.tv/clockworkfiction, as I will be starting streaming later this June. I will be starting the 24th. This will date the podcast, unfortunately, but I'll hopefully still be streaming that time. So definitely come and hang out while we playing fighting games and other games.
No, that sounds good. I can't wait to see it.
Woo!
All right.
I get my jury to masters finally.
Nice. All right, Itaku, what are your final thoughts?
Deregulation.
Pickles.
Also, one-handed regulation.
One-handed deregulation beam.
Oh my lord!
And,
Thank you, Professor.
I'm not dead.
Arigato, Professor.
Not dead. Right here. And my closing thoughts is, join me soon as Snek sets up his own VTuber agency for VTubers exclusively who are single moms over 30. Apply now. I'm kidding, unless you actually apply now, in which case I will be serious.
I was about to say, you should get Cristelia.
I was gonna say you have a PO, you have a business email in your thing, right?
That is true. Yeah, ping the Snek email, the Hipster Snek at gmail.com with willing applications, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, this has definitely gone off the rails, so we're going to call it here. We will see you guys in the next one.